Welcome to Explore in 24, where we dive into the stories that shape our world. Today we're looking at what happens when two of the world's largest nations, both armed with nuclear weapons, stare each other down across a disputed border. Spoiler alert, it's not your average neighborhood dispute. We're talking about India and China, the line of actual control, and how this tense standoff could spiral into a global conflict. Could this really spark the next world war? Let's find out. The simmering tensions between India and China over the line of actual control, LAC, might seem like a regional issue, but it has the potential to ripple across the globe, sparking conflicts that could draw in superpowers from every corner of the world. Could this border dispute really ignite the next global war? Let's explore how we got here. The India-China border dispute has roots stretching back over a century. The seeds were planted in the 19th century during British rule in India, when unclear borders between India and Tibet created the foundation for future conflict. I mean, who knew fuzzy map-making would lead to international tensions later? Classic mix-up. But it was after India gained independence in 1947 and China annexed Tibet in 1950 that things really started to heat up. In 1962, these two giants went to war over the Aksai Chin region in the west and Arunachal Pradesh in the east. It was a brief but intense conflict, and let's just say, it didn't go well for India. Since then, both nations have maintained a delicate ceasefire along the line of actual control, LAC, a demarcated border stretching over 3,440 kilometers through the Himalayas. But the lack of a clearly defined border has led to frequent skirmishes and standoffs, like two neighbors arguing over who's responsible for mowing the lawn, but with way bigger stakes. Fast forward to the 2020 Galwan Valley clash, where for the first time in 45 years, blood was spilled again. In a brutal hand-to-hand fight at high altitudes, 20 Indian soldiers were killed, and although China hasn't exactly been open about its casualty numbers, let's just say there were losses on both sides. This incident shook the region and served as a reminder of just how fragile the situation is. The ghosts of 1962 are still haunting the Himalayas, and the question remains, how long can these nations keep playing this dangerous game? So where do things stand today? Despite over 30 rounds of talks since the 2020 Galwan incident, neither side is backing down. China has been busy building up its military infrastructure along the LAC, new roads, airstrips, military outposts, you name it. Meanwhile, India isn't sitting idle either. They've responded by deploying more troops and upgrading their own military capabilities. It's like an arms race, but at 14,000 feet above sea level. And let's not forget the Himalayan weather. It's like fighting your enemy while battling frostbite and thin oxygen at the same time. Fun times, right? In December 2022, tensions boiled over once again in the Tawang region of Arunachal Pradesh, where hundreds of soldiers faced off in yet another clash. Both nations are essentially camping out in the freezing mountains, with thousands of troops stationed, waiting for the next move. What could go wrong? Diplomatic talks have tried to cool things down, but no breakthroughs so far. With both sides unwilling to budge, we're looking at a dangerous game of who blinks first. The problem is, one wrong move, and this whole situation could spiral out of control. Is the world really ready for that kind of risk? But here's where things get even more complicated. This isn't just about two countries fighting over land. It's about global power. China wants to solidify itself as Asia's top dog, while India is positioning itself as a counterbalance. India is also drawing closer to Western allies through groups like the Quad, hello US, Japan, and Australia. Now think about this. If conflict breaks out between these two giants, who else gets pulled into the fight? The US has a strategic interest in keeping China in check, while Russia, traditionally an ally of India, also has close ties with China. It's like a game of chess with nuclear-armed pieces. One wrong move and checkmate? Oh, and speaking of nuclear weapons, both India and China have them. Yeah, just in case this situation wasn't tense enough. Any serious conflict between them carries the risk of escalating beyond conventional warfare. What would that mean for the rest of the world? Spoiler, nothing good. And it's not just politics and military clashes at stake here. The economic fallout from a war between India and China would be nothing short of catastrophic. Both countries are vital players in global supply chains. China is the world's manufacturing hub, and India is a key player in technology and pharmaceuticals. Imagine all those smartphones, cars, and medicines suddenly disappearing from the shelves. Now imagine what happens if those supply chains are disrupted by conflict. The flow of goods, everything from electronics to medicines, would come to a screeching halt. Global markets would plummet, prices would skyrocket, and the rest of us would be scrambling to figure out how to survive without our gadgets and antibiotics. A full-blown war between India and China could send the world into an economic spiral unlike anything we've seen since, well, ever. The India-China border dispute is much more than a regional issue. With both countries unwilling to back down and a host of global powers waiting in the wings, this could very well be the spark that ignites the next world war. The question is, are we paying enough attention? What do you think could happen next? Thanks for sticking with us through this intense exploration of the India-China border dispute. What do you think? Will these two giants find a way to cool things down, or are we looking at a global conflict in the making? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay on top of crucial global issues like this, make sure to subscribe to Explore in 24. Tap that bell icon. Don't just click it. Tap it like you're setting off a chain reaction of knowledge. And don't forget to share this video with others who need to know what's really at stake. Here at Explore in 24, we believe the world is full of stories waiting to be uncovered. Keep exploring, and we'll see you on the next adventure.